Well, first of all, I'm so excited that we're going to be able to sit down here for these sessions to help our fellow EOD soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to be able to transition to a new opportunity in their life, a new phase of their life. So I really appreciate the foundation pulling this together. In terms of my background, I was a military brat. My dad was active duty Army, 30-year career person, Vietnam and Thailand for 2 tours while I was in high school. I went to 11 different schools in 12 years, so moved all around the world. My grandfather was in the Navy at the tail end of World War II. And my son just retired from the Air Force only 3 months ago after 22 years doing search and rescue as a HC-130 pilot. So we have a history of service to our country. And so for me, growing up and being around the military every day, in Germany, for example, it was just a life-changing process of seeing what the military was and seeing different parts of the world and different parts of the United States. And I really absorbed these concepts of our military values, of respecting others, of treating others like you would like to be treated. And I felt that was something that I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. I was commissioned from Penn State University, ROTC, in computer science, and immediately typical young lieutenant. Went to airborne school, ranger school, ended up in the 82nd Pathfinder School, just doing all those things you think of for a young officer, jumping out of airplanes, going around the world, and so on, and it was very exciting. Was a company commander in the 82nd. Then I went to grad school at the University of Pennsylvania for the Wharton School of Business, and I picked up operations research and systems analysis as a specialty. And that was wonderful as well. I did operational testing in the Army, and the one bad part about that was that technical people are a rarity in the Army. And of course with EOD techs, extremely technical. And I found out that the Army said, well, we need you to be this technical computer guy for us. And I said, well, I didn't really join the Army to be a technical guy. And so I was hoping to go back and forth between working with soldiers and then being a technical person. After my third back-to-back technical tour, I decided to resign my regular Army commission. And then I went into the Virginia Army National Guard for the next 16 years, part-time, and did all those things you would expect. I was a battalion S3, I was a battalion commander. We took a unit to, my battalion went to JRTC. It was really the best of times in terms of being in the reserve component. My exposure to EOD started literally when I was in the 82nd. I was responsible for all of the ammunition for the division. So I had an ammunition warrant officer, and we worked with the EOD techs on a regular basis for just inspection, maintenance of all of the ammunition. And then even before that, my dad, as a battalion commander, had an EOD unit that was part of his battalion as well at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So I was familiar with the concepts of what EOD soldiers do. Then 9/11 happened, and I was the commander of a unit whose mission was to support the Army Operations Center in the Pentagon. And from my office in Fairfax, Virginia, I could literally see the smoke rising over the Pentagon in the distance. And as you can imagine, in the tradition of the National Guard, that you're always ready like the Minutemen, we were there within 2 days after they allowed us back in the building, 2 days later, even before we had orders, and we were doing our mission. And we were on the first mobilization order to support the Army. We stayed for that period of time, the first year of mobilization, and they cherry-picked a lot of us. And I had the honor of being asked to serve on the chairman's staff as a colonel, and that was wonderful, and I did that for 3 years. Then after that, got promoted to 1-star and went back and was the deputy director for current operations for the Army, which was an honor, especially as a National Guard officer. Did that for a couple of years, and then got promoted a second time, and was then moved over to head up the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which is responsible for all, among many things, the safety of our nuclear weapons as well as our chemical weapons at the time. And we also had EOD techs as part of our team there at DTRA, obviously from the point of view of disarming, should we say, weapons of mass destruction from a technical point of view. And we worked with EOD units around the world. And then my last job was I was actually responsible for from there I went on to be the deputy commander of 3rd Army in Kuwait and Iraq, and a wonderful experience. We were able to get 100,000 people out of Iraq at the time, all safely. Now the bad guys let us go, but it was a major logistics operation to get us out. And you can imagine EOD again played a key role, whether it was route clearance and safety or removing munitions from Iraq. So my ties to the EOD community have been, even when I was probably 10 years old, just looking at awe at what these guys were responsible in doing. So it's just been an honor and a great career. And the EOD flavor and this idea of being committed to what the EOD community does has been instilled in me for decades. So as you can imagine, the transitioning from the military, or even for people who are out of the military already looking for another opportunity, it can be extremely scary, it can be very nerve-wracking, it can be a really difficult time. So our objective in these 10 episodes is to give you some tools to enable you to, quite frankly, navigate this transition with a minimum of disruption to your life, and hopefully maximizing the opportunity to find the right opportunity that fits you and your family. What you're going to find is that we are going to have a lot of points and tips. In fact, as you can imagine, many of these episodes will get into detail about things you should do or things you should not do, things that you should consider about how to ensure that you don't get overwhelmed by the potential enormity of looking for a new job or getting out of the military and having such a cultural impact on your life. And also, if you are married or you have a significant other or you have children, about how can we also help them to get through this transition, because it can be very scary and very rough. So our objective at the bottom line is to help you to be more successful more rapidly by listening to these episodes and getting some tips so that you can find that right job for yourself more rapidly than otherwise.